Hello. Hello everyone and welcome to this Employability World Tour webinar focusing on job search in Ireland. My name is Marina. I am a student at EMLYON Business School and I am a part of the international office, the association that ensures the integration of foreign students while promoting the different cultures represented at the school. So today I will be the webinar moderator. Thank you for joining us. This series of webinar is a world tour to meet EMLYON alumni and recruitment experts around the globe and aims at presenting the employment specificity in various countries. This year, we will focus on European countries. We have done a webinar about Luxembourg in November. The next ones are about Ireland, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and Italy. So the webinars will take place every 2 months until July. And today we are focusing on Ireland. First of all, I would like to thank our 3 speakers, Océane, Audrey, and Mathieu, who will share their experience and the knowledge of the job market. The 3 of them are EMLYON graduates. Now, just a quick note on the technical aspects of the webinar. We kindly ask you to stay on mute during the speaker's presentation. However, you can turn your camera on. We encourage you to open your microphone and ask your questions directly to the speakers. But of course, you can also use the discussion box. So please note this session will be recorded so it can be shared with students or alumni who could not attend the webinar today. I now turn to our speakers who will introduce themselves. So we can start with Audrey.
Sure, thanks. Hi everyone, so my name is Audrey. I'm a senior account strategist at Google. And I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. So I've started in the more junior teams, and then I moved to bigger account management. To briefly describe my role, I would say it's very similar to the role of key account manager that you might have heard of. So I work with clients on the ads platform of Google to help them develop their business through this. So basically, I like to simplify my role as I'm a digital consultant. And I've helped small businesses and bigger ones all through my career at Google. And I came to Ireland for this job. So I've also been in Ireland for almost 4 years now. And a bit about my EMLYON journey. So I did the Programme Grande École at EMLYON, and I started in 2015 and ended the program in 2019 with a graduation amidst COVID in 2020.
Hello everyone, my name is Océane Hans. I am a senior corporate account manager at Microsoft. Just to simplify, it's a sales role. And I work on every workload of Microsoft, from Azure to all the Microsoft 365 teams, everything. And I work on the French market. I am at Microsoft for 3 years now. And I started my journey in Ireland with Oracle 4 years ago now, and I came for the job as well. I was in Dassault Systems, so I always was in tech, and I just wanted to live somewhere else. I just didn't want to stay in France. So I started 4 years ago, Oracle, now Microsoft. And if you have questions about the role, I will explain you later. And yeah, and I did my master degree with Centrale Supélec and EMLYON 5 years ago now. Nice to meet you all.
Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. So my name is Mathieu de la Chevardière. I'm a MSc graduate from 2010. I've been living in Ireland for 3 years, working for LinkedIn and my background before that is in commodity trading and management consulting. And I've been living and working in London, Dubai, Singapore before calling Dublin and Ireland my home. A bit about my journey at EMLYON. I was a member of the EMLYON Junior Conseil. And then a bit about my role. So it's a role that is a support and a steering function of the sales teams, with the skills that we are using every day in my teams are around analytical skills, problem solving, and stakeholder management. Back to you, Marina.
Thank you. So after this short presentation of our speakers, we will start by a description of the employment situation in the country. For that, I will let Mathieu and Océane introduce you some key informations.
Yes. So let me start by saying that neither Océane or myself are recruitment experts. That said, I think we work in company that have been hiring extensively, or in teams that have been hiring extensively since we have joined. And I personally work for a company which vision is to create economic opportunity for the global workforce. So in some of those points, you will see some numbers that I'm taking from in-house reports that are public to everyone around the state of the labor market, as well as jobs on the rise. So first of all, if we think about Ireland, and it's becoming increasingly clear at the minute, it's benefiting from a very fertile ground since the Brexit. It's the only native English-speaking country as part of the EU, even though, just to be clear, it's not part of Schengen. It's still part of the European Union. And you can see a very strong influx of foreign direct investment. And actually, at the moment, after Singapore, it's the second largest receiver of foreign direct investment, which means that the economy is flourishing with particular emphasis on pharmaceutical, medical device, and obviously tech. There are also other industries that are less, let's say, prominent, but the food and beverage industry is quite strong. As an anecdote, 1 out of 5 burgers sold worldwide as Irish meat. And you have then an opportunity to join a very dynamic economy. It's not only an economy where all those sectors are present, but actually the top companies in those sectors are present. If we think about the sectors, the pharmaceutical, the ICT, about 80% of the top 10 companies in those fields have significant presence in Ireland. And you can translate that in just saying that Dublin is ranked #1 European headquarter location by capita in the European Union. I think, if I'm not mistaken, all three, for Audrey, Océane, and myself, the companies we work in have their European headquarters in Dublin. So there's been a significant need for talent, and up to very recently, those companies were hiring significantly. There's been a slowdown in the last in the recent months, which actually is around, there's 27% less hiring year over year than in December 22 than in December 21. That said, the market is it's still quite, let's say, positive, where there is still a higher number of roles open per applicants than pre-COVID. to give you two jobs that are on the rise and in high demand in Ireland. One is a tax associate, which is not necessarily surprising given the number of business services companies that have significant presence in Dublin, and account strategist, which is more or less the roles that Audrey and Oceane can discuss it more details with you. Oceane, I'll leave it to you in case there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, no, it's quite complete from my side. As Mathieu said already, like the perspective changed recently due to, of course, the inflation and all like the situation actually in Europe. So we can note that, for instance, on my perspective, working in Microsoft, currently we don't hire anymore, meaning that it will come, but at the moment everything is frozen. So it means that in my team, we're supposed to be 10. We're currently 9 at the moment, meaning that there's one headcount that should be filled in, but it's not at the moment because everything is in pause. So what I'm saying is just like, it will go back again for sure. But currently in the tech company, in the tech industry in Ireland, we are facing, and this is the first time in my short career, like a pause in the recruitment. So I think it's everywhere the same, but in Dublin, as we are working for tech companies, the tech companies are way more here than anywhere else. That's how we see things at the moment. So the labor is coming, but it's just in pause right now.
Okay, thank you, Mathieu and Oceane. Now we will talk about cultural specificity in the context of a job interview. So our speakers will share their experience. Let's begin with Audrey.
Yeah, and if I can start by adding on what Oceane was saying, let's remember that culturally in the tech world, everything's moved really fast. So that's why Oceane was talking about a pause. But in our companies, everything can change from like 6 months to another 6 months. So one first thing that I would add here is resilience. For instance, one of my teammates, who's also a former EMLYON student, we were in the same class, and she wasn't hired at the same time as me for, sometimes obscure reasons. Sometimes your resume doesn't get selected and you just have to work on it a bit more. And she just went on and found something else and then applied a few months later, and she got in. So really just keep in mind that it's a fast-paced environment also in terms of recruitment, and it's not because you don't get it now that you won't get it later. We hear a lot of myth around getting blacklisted if you missed one interview or something like this. This is not true. You still have second chances in most our company. Now to go back to what I had prepared more in terms of the cultural specificities and job interviews. I think what's really important to understand in Ireland and in the tech companies is that they're really trying to see, if you will fit the culture. So usually it goes as being a team player, being someone quite curious to navigate also within a very complex environment, because we're still in very big companies where you get a lot of information thrown at you. And then also, more than a fit, what will be your value added to the company and to your team? And so how will you build on potential differences between you and your teammate, and what can you bring professionally but also personally to the company? So don't hesitate to also work on your profile also in terms of skills, personal skill, what I call DIY. So how can you show that you are really more of a proactive person rather than a passive one? And I think Oceane and Mathieu won't contradict me on this. Most tech companies are looking for very proactive people that are willing to ask questions and to go towards a challenge. And we're also expecting you, I guess, in many of those companies, as it's already quite complex. to, of course, bring a new vision, but being able to work with what is existing. So the goal here is not to add to a potential complexity, but more to be able to navigate it, make the most of it. And I think that's the fine line you have to find during your job interview at a tech company, is showing that you can navigate a complex environment, all while bringing value without making it even more complex or complicated. And then also keep in mind that usually for the cultural specificities, what I found in Ireland was that it was much more practical questions, at least at Google. I know that there is the myth of how many tennis balls can you fit in a Renault. You won't really have that, at least not at Google. It would be more practical questions on the job to see how you would go about the role. Of course, a bit of challenging questions, but always quite related to the job you're going to have. And the idea, and I think that's very specific and very different from France, the idea is never to trick you. The idea is never to trap you. It's only to make you show how well you can think, and that you have, we say in France, la tête bien faite, your mind is right. But at least on the Google side, and when I gave interview, the idea was never to trick the candidate, but more to let them show their full potential through practical questions. I hope that was clear.
Thank you, Audrey. So maybe I will let Matthew speak about his experience.
That's me, sorry.
Okay, Luciane.
Sorry, Mathieu. Just for me, it's already quite complete what Audrey said, and I couldn't agree more. But to me, is like if I have to explain how it is the cultural specificities for Ireland, I would say it's a very multicultural environment, but with a very little American touch. Of course, we work for American companies, and of course it shows. Of course, you have Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, all those big companies. They have headquarters in EMEA, in Dublin. And we also have like this American sometimes influence, saying they focus on the wellness, diversity and inclusion. They're good people and they want good people. The management, for my part, in Microsoft is based on trust and acceptance. I never, ever had micromanager in my life. And that's key. I don't know if some of you already worked, but a micromanager or a different manager will make your experience completely different. It's result driven. Of course, I'm a salesperson. I make numbers. That's how I make money. And that's how I help Microsoft making money as well. So you have to get a sales perspective. And of course, a company culture for Microsoft, like that was key when I got recruited by my manager. It's a company fit, how you fit to the company. What is your, what could you bring to an organization as an individual? I think it's very important. We are all different and we make a whole, and that's how a company can, I think, succeed. Growing through learning, that's the second point. I will say experience over diplomas, but we're all from a very good school. So of course, diplomas matters, but in terms of experience, like how you see things, how you experience things. And that's what Audrey was saying before. Don't hesitate to give like personal experience. It can also bring up your full potential. For my experience, like there's a lot of space left for learning, especially in Microsoft. We have learning Wednesdays, meaning that you don't work on Wednesday, you just learn. And your manager will ask you at the end of the day, what did you learn today? And I think to me, like it's very important in a growth mindset to always keep learning. And we have amazing work-life balance. We do work. We work through numbers as well, so it speaks louder than words, but we have a good work-life balance. and of course, big tech community. We're in Ireland. There's a huge expat community. I know 1,000 people are coming from different people, like everywhere in the world, and that's amazing. But it's also a bubble. It means that we all work in tech at the end of the day. So we come from different perspectives and angles, but in the end, we do the same thing. And to me, if you want to create and push your career abroad one day, Dublin is an amazing springboard for your career in tech. That's it. Thank you, Maina.
Thank you, Oceane. So Matthew, can you give your experience?
Matthew, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was saying actually to Oceane that I love this word springboard. I will use it more. So I think a lot has been said by Audrey and Oceane. I think the point that Audrey made on the resilience, I think you also see that in interview process. So the companies, those companies, they will really focus on you having a good experience and enjoying yourself in those processes. But there could be some stop and start, right? And continue. So pause, unpause. So it will test your resilience, whether it's mentally or maybe to some extent physically, but they will make sure that you have the right the right experience, because they're as much focused on the teams identifying the right talent for their teams, but also once they have found those talents, to make sure that those talents wants to join those teams as well, right? So it has to be on both ends. There is, as Audrey and Oceane have said, there's a strong culture in those companies, focused on team, focused on diversity, inclusion, and belonging, but also focused on trust and self-reliance, right? So there is an element where, for example, LinkedIn will say at the minute that we trust our employees to be doing their best work anywhere they are, right? Meaning that there is a huge shift at the moment to hybrid working, where you can be working from home at your convenience and coming to the office at your convenience. And those are things in terms of diversity, inclusion, and belonging that will be part of the interview process in some ways. As I think Audrey said, the cultural fit is the first and foremost component on any of those interviews. And then they will try and understand whether you can play an advocacy role or an allyship role on those cultural topics. The work-life balance that was mentioned by Oceane, I think I will say it's very true, but I would say there's also an axe around mental health and well-being. What I would say is that I think professionally there's a real focus on learning, right? But also personally, I think there is a huge emphasis on you developing yourselves personally, which goes hand in hand with obviously the mental health piece. And then maybe one last comment is to say that Dublin is a 1 million has a 1 million population, right? The tech industry, so it's not that big to be a European hub or a European capital. The tech scene is even more concentrated and smaller, right? So what I would say is that try to show as the best version of yourself to one interview, because even if this one is not it, you will potentially learn from it, and it will allow you to bridge with another interview, and even potentially bring you to be referred by another one of your interviewee. Just as an example, as far as I was concerned, I was a silver medalist at one interview process, at LinkedIn, and I was called back in an interview process that I think lasted a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. And I was called back 6 months later, and 10 days later after getting that phone call, I had a job offer, right? So that's just to give you that idea that, one, resilience, two, don't burn the bridges and try to show us the best versions, because those trains comes and goes. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience. Before going to the last part of our webinar, I see that we have some questions. So the first ones are from Com. Com, can you please put your microphone on and ask directly to our 3 speakers?
Hello everyone, my name is Com. I'm a last year student at EMLYON, programme grande école as well. I did send many questions, to be honest, so I don't know which one you want to start with. The first one was to know, in your opinion, what was the position that is the most formative to start your career as a salesperson in a tech company?
I can take it and then maybe Audrey and Mathieu will complete my answers. If you don't have any experience and you want to start somewhere, in my mind, you need to learn from the first role that you can have in the pyramid. So that would be like BDR, BD. I don't know if you have BDR if in Google. You have in LinkedIn for sure. In Microsoft, we don't really have BDR. We have like ISR, and to me, it's like maybe a little bit level up of a BDR position, but it's like business development role where you can just cold call and do outbound, inbound calling, learn a solution that you can sell to maybe customers. I don't know if you have like the full cycle of sale. But in Microsoft or LinkedIn, I can answer for LinkedIn too. It's BDR position and ISR. And that was before this transition of a pause in the recruitment. That was the role that were the most easy to get.
Okay. And
Audrey?
Yeah, on the Google side is a bit different, but it's still kind of the same roles. And I would say, I mean, also I'm doing my career in this, but to me, the role that I've learned the most in was my first sales role for SMBs. So it's kind of a junior account strategist role. So if you're looking for it in a career website, you might want to look for the associate account strategist role. And that's a role where you don't really do any type of acquisition. So you're working with clients that are already using your solutions, and your goal is to go deeper. So that's one type of role, the one I started in. Then you have also roles in the new business team that will focus more on acquisition. And regardless, I think these roles are super interesting, especially if, like me, you're coming out of school and entering a tech workforce, because as Océane was saying, you will learn a lot on the go. And that was also, for me, an amazing experience, because I was handling per quarter more than 100 clients. So it's going to give you such a concrete view on, okay, what is actually like the business, concretely, friends, the economy, what makes the economy, what are the challenges that people, concrete business owners face. And to me, that was one of the most valuable experiences, A, to learn about the products, but also B, to learn business, just pure business. How are you profitable? How are you not? What works, what doesn't? And you will see a lot of companies kind of at scale and help also along the way a lot of people. So it's both an amazing learning experience and a very rewarding one.
Okay, thank you very much. And to complete with that question,
Sorry, just I come there was a lot of acronyms that were used in our tech jargon. So there is also a different name in LinkedIn for the entry roles, right? It's called sales development, which is very close to what Ocean has mentioned. It will be only for our SaaS business, whereas this is our media business, where it's focused on cold calling and generating quality leads, qualified leads, basically.
Okay, thank you very much. And so to complete with that question, I wanted to know if any position would open at Microsoft and Google, for example, in Ireland. Normally there are, but is it also in pause at the moment? And if yes, do you know if it is supposed to come back in July, October? I don't know.
I would say, as Ocean was saying, just wait it out. Right now, as you might have seen, the context is not amazing, but it's a fast-paced environment. There will be also, just as in other companies, especially in the tech world, maybe what we haven't mentioned is that there is, maybe compared to other companies, a higher turnover rate of people. So I would say that I think Ocean and Mathieu go through the same thing. There are people that stay in shorter times. So usually every 6 months, you have also a natural wave of people leaving and coming in. So obviously right now the context is a bit different, but I would say give it 6 months and reassess, because there will also be a natural, and we're still in very fast growing companies. So there is a natural also rhythm to it. So yeah, that would be my position on that. If you are not seeing roles open right now, it doesn't mean they're closed forever. It just means that the context is a bit different, but definitely keep on looking into it. I don't know if you can put maybe some notifications or stuff like that, but keep on looking into it. Ask also, and we'll touch upon that after, but network a bit, because also people from the inside will be the best people to tell you, hey, we're reopening.
You need to prepare. That's the thing. Don't use this time smartly. Just try to talk as many people as you can and prepare, get to know more about the company culture, the products, what you would like to sell, because the role I have and the role Audrey has, it's basically the same. We're sales. We have to make numbers, but the role is completely different. She's more on the marketing digital. We don't have the same discussions. We don't have the same customers. We don't sell the same products. So you have the time to study maybe the role of Audrey, the role of probably me or someone else that you might know, and assess what you like the most. You have time to ask yourself questions like that. What do I like? What do I identify? Do I identify more as a Googler, or do I identify more as a Microsoftie, or maybe more a LinkedIn person? You have this time now.
It's true that the times are uncertain, especially in our three companies. And to answer your question precisely on whether it will be June, September, August, I think the reality is that no one knows, right? At this stage, what and when. What I would say is that there is a difference between wanting to join one of those big tech companies and finding a sales role in Dublin, right? There are plenty of companies that are not necessarily flagship names as Audrey, Osen, and myself, but are recruiting. The fintech scene is quite strong, right? So, as I think it was Ocean that mentioned this, you can put alerts you can put alerts on LinkedIn and look at account strategists, BDR. You put all those as alerts for Dublin, and it might not be Google or Facebook or Apple or Amazon or Microsoft, but there are definitely jobs out there that are on the rise, that are close to being a sales entry level role in Dublin.
Yeah, especially I would say, building up on what Mathieu you were saying, just put Dublin and put a sales associate role, and also look at the other companies that are coming up. Is the best way to still find opportunities in more maybe smaller but even growing even faster companies. I'm thinking about Datadog, companies like this. Datadog, I think, is also a French company. So they're really keen, and actually one EMLYON alumni is part of this company in Dublin. So you can also obviously start your company somewhere else. There's a lot of mobility. As Oceane was saying, it's a tech bubble. So once you set foot in Dublin, you'll be like kind of diving into that bubble, and you'll meet people from different companies, and that's also a way to bridge between them or move internally. So there are definitely things out there.
Thank you. Do you have some other questions, or everything is okay?
Yes, I had only one. Sorry. I wanted to know, based on your experience, what would be the main qualities needed to work as a salesperson in tech? You talked about resilience, and maybe energy as well, competition. What else?
Yeah,
No,
I
no
think
competition. I wouldn't say that. I don't think it's a good way to qualify the sales in Dublin. You wanted to say something, Rodrigo? No. To be honest, like there's a lot, but I will say, like, to me, a good salesperson has to be a good listener. You have to listen more than you talk.
Okay.
yeah, I
That's
was going to
key
say
for me.
I was going to say the same thing, and we'll touch upon that in the concrete interview tips and everything. But I think many people think that a salesperson is all about talking, and I completely agree with Oceane. It's all about listening, and you should show that skill right during your interviews, because that's something that people are going to be on the lookout for, if you're really a good listener or not. And obviously being curious about the product, and not being afraid to deep dive on products, because at the end of the day it's kind of what you're going to sell, either a product or a service. And most importantly, and maybe that only applies to Google, but someone organized and clear-minded and who knows when to close the computer and take time for themselves. And that's really important, because I think when you get to Google and to any other tech company, you get drowned in information. And it's all about how you're going to use your organization skill, but also your curiosity to prioritize and know what's important and what's not. Because honestly, at Google, if you wanted to give yourself work 24/7, you could, because there are so many things you can learn about and so many things you can do. So it's all a matter of how you balance all of it, and you really prioritize and organize your work. So yeah, I would say
Okay.
listen, be organized, and be curious.
Okay.
To me, I think it's a good advice, but it's complicated to know how to prioritize when you come from school. I think it's something you learn along the way, because like it's something I think you will get hired more on your personality than on your skills at the beginning of your job, because you will learn along the way how to pitch an idea, how to explain something, how to orchestrate like a team. But to me, it's just, and I agree with Audrey, of course, you have to be clear-minded. I think it's key in any job. You have to know how to prioritize. You have to know how to work, basically. You have to have good methodology, but it's more about the humility you display during an interview. Like you have to have a growth mindset, no matter whatever job you want, if it's sales or whatever. You need to show the recruiter that you're here to learn. You don't know. You need to learn, and you never, ever be afraid to say, I don't know. It's we're human. At the beginning, when I did my interview, I didn't know anything. And I'm here to just say, I'm here to learn. I want to grow. And that's why I'm here. And to be honest, every member of my team is exactly the same on this point. We're very different. We don't have the same age. We don't from the same religion, the same background, the same nothing. But here, we all here to learn something.
I think the thing you will hear a lot in the tech world is humble and hungry. That kind of summarize all of it. It's, you know, keeping humble on what you do and the fact that you still always have everything to learn, but also, as Ozan was saying, the growth mindset.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions, Com. I see that we have a specific question for Océane from Axel. So Axel, can you please turn your microphone on and ask directly Océane? And maybe also tell us your second question that I see in the chat.
Yes, hi everyone. I had a question for Océane. So as I wrote, I'm really interested by working at Microsoft in Dublin, as I did a memoir last year when I was in Dublin about Microsoft. And I was interested to know if you were hiring interns in your teams or in other teams, like Azure, for example.
Yeah. They are hiring, not really. Interns will be more on the French side, I believe. In Dublin, we don't really have interns. We have what we call graduate programs. So it means that when you come from school and you are enrolled in a program that will help you to discover 3 main roles within the organization. And of course, you are getting paid for that. It's, I think, a year and something program. And it's like an internship, but to me, better. So you can check, I can send you the name of it. It was called something, but they changed the name, but it's basically the graduate program of Microsoft. And you can try to get recruited from that. But internships in Dublin, no, I don't think so. But you can start with a job as well.
Okay, yeah, I think graduates are really a specific kind of island, like it's with Irish universities and not with
Oh, no. They do have a program that you can get from anywhere. I will find the link and I will send it to you if you want.
Okay, thank you. And I
also, just a question, Axel, are you at the end of your studies?
No, not at all. I'm in my first year.
Because I was saying, if you're at the end of your studies, go for a junior role. Don't go for an internship.
Exactly. But you can go, there's an apprenticeship on Azure in France.
Okay.
That I can give you like the name of someone you need to contact if you're interested in going through that. Yeah. If you're not at the end of your studies.
Yeah, I would really like for internship or at the end of my studies at Azure.
I can give you the name of someone that I know in my team that did that. You can contact him.
Okay.
He's a great guy and he's been all his career in Microsoft. So you can add him on LinkedIn and ask him questions. He started as an intern on the French market on Azure. And right now he's like a specialist and he's one of the most promising guys. So great. You can.
Okay, thank you. I will do so. And I think I had another question for everyone. It will be about French people. So are French people more easy to hire or more valuable among other nationalities to your strategic positions?
So I think you're referring to what I said about Datadog. And obviously because it was a French company and it started small, when you would interview at Datadog back in the days, you might be get interviewed by people that were close to the founding team that was French. So that's why obviously being French was sometimes a bit of an asset in that case. Otherwise, and I think this is global for our 3 companies and most tech companies, you will work by markets on sales roles. So if you're French, you have obviously more chances to be hired on the French market, obviously, as this is your first language. Now, in my team, we absolutely do not have only French people. We have at least 10 nationalities of just French-speaking people. So obviously, that's a bit of an asset if you speak French, because it will be the language of your market, and you will have to speak it with your clients. But you can also be French and try and work on the UK market or other type of markets. But obviously, if you're applying for the German market and they want you to speak German and you speak German, it's easier that way.
I will just add to what Audrey has said by saying first that in general, there is an edge for speaking multiple languages, because it means that you could be working in the French market, the Spanish market, and so on and so forth. For example, I know that we study, or at least there's a test in 2 languages, at least to enter the school. So most of us speak quite fluently 3 languages. I think it's a big asset that we all have. And then given that interest or that hedge that native language speakers have or fluent language speakers had, when there is natural attrition in those teams, they will be on the lookout for those languages. But relocating someone usually takes time, right? So that's why, as much as possible, they want to have the pipeline in place to be able to hire quickly, to try and reduce as much as possible the time to be in seat. That is just to say that even if the companies are not hiring now, they are pipelining so that they're ready when things are more back to normal, right? So I wouldn't wait. And that is because of the need for those native languages.
Okay, thank you for your answers. We have 2 more questions from Julie. So I will let Julie speak and ask directly the questions.
Yes, hello. So I see that you're all working for big companies. My question is, are there opportunities within startups and SMEs? So I mean, smaller companies in general in the tech industry?
Yeah, they're actually, as we were saying before, probably the ones that are less frozen in terms of hiring right now, because, you know, they had smaller team, and so they're a bit more agile when it comes to this. So they have less of a stop and go approach to it. So I would say definitely look into it, because I know that some of them that we've quoted before, Datadog, Stripe, DocuSign, are still applying. And because of how dynamic the tech environment is in Dublin, you also have Irish-born startups or other startups that are also joining the Dublin scene, the Dublin tech scene. So yes, they are hiring right now, and I do believe that you should also look into it, because I don't remember the term that Océane used, but it's a great tremplin for your career.
Springboard.
It's a great springboard, exactly, for your career.
A small trick on the tech scene, if you're, or in the startup scene, I should say, sorry, startup scene, a good way to try and filter and see which companies are hiring. Usually one good trick is to go to Crunchbase, so TechCrunch, and see which companies have been raising. because usually it goes quite hand in hand between raise and hiring.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
Go, Julie, go.
I'm interested in the green tech field. Is that something big in Ireland or not?
I don't think so.
You don't
Yeah,
think so?
I don't know. I don't know much about it, to be honest.
No, me neither.
I would think the green tech scene is far bigger in France or in the UK.
Okay.
There's more investment there.
All right. Thank you.
We do, Julie, have some department within Microsoft that are doing like it's called technology for good or something like that, and it's about all the climate change topics, how to make it better, like etc. etc. So we do have that kind of department within Microsoft, but I don't really know what kind of job you could get, to be honest. You could check online, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, for sure there are green tech companies in Ireland, right? But we're not so sure about the dynamic and the and how easy is it? Are there a lot of jobs openings out there?
Yeah, very specific, I think, in Ireland.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Hello, may I have a question?
Yes, sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zhong Qi. I'm from program Gahan de Gaulle M2. I'm international student from China. And actually, I have I think I have a very important question, but you didn't mention in this session today. I believe both of you guys are from European citizens, so you don't face these issues. I don't know who can answer this question. So the question is, are companies in Dublin, are they willing to sponsor the visa or the working permit for candidates, especially for candidates outside of the Europe areas? Yeah. And sorry, another question is there any difference for campus hires or for experienced hires? Are they willing, is there any preference for them to, like they are more willing to hire those experienced people with experiences, or campus hires? It's okay, graduate hires? Yeah, thank you.
I think I can start by answering your first question. As I said, in my team, even though it's a French team, we don't have only French citizens. So for instance, we have people from Lebanon. What else can I think of? In my roommate's team, they have people from India. So we do hire people that are not coming from the EU or, the Schengen area. And you will get also, I think they have Deloitte as consultants. I know I have a friend in the Turkish team, and she has a Deloitte consultant to also help her with immigration administrative work. So they will do that extra mile for you to make sure that you have the right visa and you have everything you need. And we've had some people in my team that, had to join later because of, it was COVID and the visa processes were a bit longer. It's completely fine. And you will get help on that. And I guess in most tech companies, you will have, it won't be an obstacle to your hiring. And they will be fully understanding if, you just have a little bit of delay because of visa or something like this. So we do have people that are not from the EU, and it's completely fine.
That's really nice. Good to know that. Thank you.
Can I just add to this, because I think it's a very important question. Yeah. So the short answer is definitely yes. We are hiring from outside the EU, right? I would say that, for example, in my team, right, about 40% of my team is not from the European Union. And I would go even further than this. I would say when we are recruiting for a role, we are looking for a diverse mix, right? Meaning that, and diversity has various definitions, right? Social background, nationalities, very different definitions. but it means that at the end of the day, what you're looking is for the best person that can drive impacts, right? Independently of who they are, what they're from, and that is important.
And don't forget also that you'll be joining a big company and a big community in the company where you'll get hired. And so you will have other people that have probably gone through the same process and that know about it. And so if you're having an issue, there's a very high likelihood that someone already also had it and can help you, giving you the right contact to solve, whether it's immigration or something else. So there is also that has a huge impact on your experience, obviously.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm not sure I understood the second question. So
actually, the second question, I mean, for you, your personal experience is you have previous experience in other places. You mentioned in France, in Singapore, in some other areas, and you moved to Dublin. So I would like to know, are they willing to open positions for graduates, or do they prefer experienced hires? I mean, to hire people with already with experience.
Yeah, I would think that actually a very large majority of the roles are more are entry or junior level roles, right? And whether it's junior roles and whether it's experienced role, we always again look for diverse mix of background experiences, right? Meaning that I think it's not really a concern that you should be having.
And also just mechanically, you know, we usually have fewer manager roles than we have, you know, sales roles. So it's just also a bit of a mechanic in the sense that you will have open position for experienced people and then open position for junior people. It's just that, you know, usually we tend to have more positions for junior people because we have more of a need, while maybe more management position, you might be in a need to wait for a position to open, someone to leave, or something like this. So I guess that might be also why there's a mix of both, but kind of mechanically, you usually have a bit more, you might want to be more on the lookout if you're looking for, a more experienced position, because there are fewer spots and maybe still a lot of candidates.
Yeah, I think we tend to mix, and I think I just want to clarify one thing I said. It's like we tend to mix junior and versus, if you're not junior, you're a manager, right? We have very experienced and senior individual contributor in all of our companies that like it's generally acknowledged and agreed that, you know, you do not need to progress in your career to become a manager, right? So I think if your interest is in just being a sales person, you can do all your career as an individual contributor, being recognized for your experience and your seniority.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We will continue the presentation. For the rest of the questions, we will do another question session at the end of this webinar. So to conclude, I'm going to let each speaker give us 3 best tips that can be given to a student looking for a job in Ireland. Like before, I let Audrey start the presentation.
Yeah, so my first advice for this would be stand out. I know it's easier said than done, but there are a few tips and tricks that you can use to try and stand out from the crowd, especially because companies in Ireland, whether it's big companies or smaller ones, are getting a lot of resumes. So, you know, make sure and that's actually one of the main tip is make sure you tailor your resume to the job you're applying to. So avoid sending a generic one make sure that if you're applying to 2 different roles, let's say new business role and more of a business development role of existing customers, make sure you tailor your experience and how you tell them according to the roles. Don't forget, and we've already touched upon that, your non-work related activities or experiences that can also bring a lot to the mix. Make sure you connect with people, work on your network and your referrals, which will give you a push to get hired. And also one of the best advice I've been given at Google was work the network of your network. So for instance, when you're getting in touch with someone and having a call with them, just ask if they also have the name of someone else in mind that you could ask other questions to. That's a great way to also, have a bit more of a view and a broader network. And the last point for me and for Google personally is don't come with a script for the interviews. It's very easy to find the questions on Glassdoor. It's very easy to be very well prepared for the interviews. And I think, as Océane was saying, you need to have a healthy mix of good preparation, but also a natural personality that's shining through your interview. And so especially one of the things that I've seen the most, one of the mistakes that I've seen the most is people being quite stressed. And so they're coming with a script and they're not listening anymore. And so I've had interviews where the candidates was consistently answering a tiny bit besides the points because they weren't fully listening to the question. They were hearing some keywords in my questions, thinking, oh, okay, I have the answer for that here, and just not listening to the question and answering with what they thought I wanted to hear. An example I always give is one of the very famous tech companies question is, if you were the CEO of that company, what product or service would you develop? There is no right answer. You could say sell bananas. As long as the rationale behind it makes sense, we don't really care about the core of your answer. Sometimes it's more how you think that matters. So never think that you blew an interview because you didn't give the answer that you thought the recruiter wanted to hear. We don't really have answers that we want to hear. We want to be surprised and we want to see your personality, not a script.
Thank you, Audrey. Can you give us some advice, Océane?
Yes, I can. But it's again, I think we always answer the same variation of answers, but I'm going to complete what Audrey just said. Network is key. No matter what you want to do, you need a good network. And that's what you learn as well in EMLYON. But to be honest with you, I never sent a CV in my life. I sent a CV once to get my apprenticeship in Dassault System. Since then, maybe I'm an exception, I don't know, but I always was recruited through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn to me is my best friend in terms of the reflection, the CV, what you want to show, blah, blah. So LinkedIn for me is key. Don't hesitate to connect in and out for coffees to get inspired with people that you will never meet in real life. Don't hesitate. Just know that people, they like to talk about themselves. We're all human. We all like to talk about the experience we had. And I think most of the people we will meet in our life are good people. So don't hesitate to just send a text, send an email to someone that is an EMA sales director. Maybe he will never answer, and then it's okay. Maybe we'll get 20 minutes to get a coffee with you, Just say, I would like to learn more about this, or how did you manage to get this position at such a young age, or what will be like the 3 best advice you will give me right now after the experience you have. So don't hesitate to ask for coffees. At the end of the day, it's just like selling something yourself to someone else. So don't hesitate to do that. Connect outside of the office, of course. From France to Ireland, I think, and I assume most of you are currently in France, maybe not, but just go to French offices. If you want to go in fine in Ireland, why not starting like an internship in France? And that's the case for Microsoft offices. I think that can be interesting. And in the end, when you're inside, you can get a job maybe in the US if you want to go to the US, or to Singapore, like Mathieu. You never know. In order to prepare also for a job interview, don't hesitate to read books, listen to keynotes or interviews of C-levels to get a better picture of what is the company culture. Do you match with it? Are you in touch with what they are saying, or not at all? Maybe that's, to be honest, I wanted to join a company before Microsoft. And after reading books and hearing keynotes about like the C-levels of the company, I decided that was just not for me. I will not say the name of the company, of course, but I was just not seeing myself representing that on a daily basis. Just try to see if it's a good fit for you, and get mentored by someone already in the company. Get a referral that can be interested for you to get a better preparation, and ask all the little questions you will normally never ask. And again, to me, actions speak louder than words. If you want a job, go for it. Ask the manager on LinkedIn, get to know better, like a better understanding of what his role is and what he expects from you, but just do. There's no wrong actions you could make. Of course, don't harass them online, but do whatever you feel it's okay for you to do. Know your qualities and your flows. I think it's nice for you to get a good preparation. And again, I put, it's nice to be nice. Just remember, be nice with everybody. You will never know, like tech is, especially tech, is a very, very small scene, as Mathieu was saying. You will always see the same people again. You will see them another time, another day in another company. Just always leave on a good note. Even if the interview is not how you expected it to be, just it never harms to be nice. And especially in Ireland, people, in my mind, are very good, very kind to each other. So just try to leave on a good note, always.
Thank you, Océane. Mathieu, do you have any advice to add?
I will try. The first thing I would say is that a lot of the advice that you've heard and that you will hear, we hear with me as well, are not necessarily specific to Ireland, right? They're like advice that should follow every interview process, or that we believe are worth sharing with you in any interview process that that you will go through, right? If I was to say 3 things, and I think I would probably get into trouble if I don't do that, but I really believe in it. It's like you need to master your profile, your LinkedIn profile. Like you should invest more time in your LinkedIn profile than in doing your CV on a Word document, right? Focus on the skills, focus on the referrals, focus on following keynote speakers or influencers that are close to the topics that are at heart to you, so that your interviewee or the recruitment person that is going to be in touch with you get a really good understanding of who they have applying or showing interest for a role, right? So I think the statistics are I think around 1 person every 7 seconds find a job on LinkedIn or something like this, right? So most of the jobs in our scene, or what that you do with after a business school, I would say, will be published on LinkedIn, right? So if you're trying to find yourself a next career or a first career move, start there. Then the second advice is focus on building the connection, right? Throughout the process. And that goes with anyone you cross paths with during that process, right? There are moments that are more important than others, but the consistency of it is very important, because no one is capable of making the right decision for their company without talking to the other people that have been involved in the process, right? Maybe one key moment is the first couple of minutes of your interview, right? So you're really building that connection and that mutual language that will make the rest of the interview flow. And my last advice, if I should call it like this, is to enjoy. Because I've never been successful in an interview that I did not enjoy. Right? So I'm not saying don't consider it as an interview, right? But it's the best way to succeed, to be relaxed, to have your clear thoughts, sometimes to be very structured, sometimes to listen well. Like, you need to be in a mindset where you're going to start by saying, I'm going to enjoy the moment as a learning opportunity no matter what, and learning about someone new, right? And that's definitely going to help you increase your success rates at interviews if you're in the right direction in terms of what type of roles your profile speaks and you are on the lookout for.
Thank you for this useful advice. I would like to come back to the questions from earlier before ending this webinar. So, Dea, can you ask your questions, please?
Hello, I am actually on my phone because my computer had a little bit of a problem. So I'm sort of double joining. My questions for you were, is there a probation period for jobs typically in Ireland? And is it a fixed period, or does it change according to the company and position? I think it's 6 months everywhere in France for cadre. And then my second question is a lighter, funnier question, is what is your favorite thing about evolving in diverse teams in your jobs? Thank you.
I can go if Audrey and Ocean, you're right. Okay, so yes, I think the probation period is 6 months. It's across all companies when you move to Ireland, as long as you have a full term contract, and you're hired independently, but so full-time employees. I mean, I shouldn't say full-term contract, but full-term employees. And then on your second questions, I think what energizes me more about working in a company where diversity, inclusion is belonging is, first of all, you can be yourself at work, right? And there's a part of you there's a part of you. I go to meetings where we do not all agree, right? But I know that by that conversation, we're going to get to best outcome, right? Doing the right thing for the business, right thing for the people, right? And the diversity of opinions will make sure of that. And that's the same when you are taking management decisions. It's the same when you're taking operational decisions. The diversity of the team that you build will give you that outcome, right? And that's also probably more the case in people first mindset companies. In people first companies, sorry, that this will really exemplify or increase the impact that teams can have.
I don't know if Ocean, you wanted to go, but yeah, just to add on what Mathieu was saying, I think one of the greatest gift that you can have in a diverse company is just having different outlooks on challenges, and just maybe challenging you to put yourself, like, I know that sometimes, you think, oh, what would that person do in my situation? And so having a very diverse team also gives you, yeah, as Mathieu was saying, super diverse perspectives. And it's just a wonderful thing to have, and also more opportunities around the world, and to discover roles, places, and opportunities overall.
Thank you for your questions. I will let Margot ask her question, and I think that it will be the last question.
Hi, hello. I just had a question about internships because I'm taking a gap year next year, and I wanted to search an internship in Ireland for the second part of my gap year. But as you said, tech company doesn't offer internship, but they do offer a graduate program.
Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, but I don't know if you can get like a graduate program if you're doing a gap year, and then if you have to go back to the studies. That I don't know.
Yeah, I think you cannot, because they want to do the graduate program to offer you a job afterwards.
Yeah, that's it. So it doesn't make any sense for you then.
My read is that there are internships at least in LinkedIn, there are summer internships, right, that are a couple of months, right? So that will not necessarily work for what you're looking for.
Okay.
And it's quite, and I think it's the same with like investment banking in some way. They have summer internships and they do not have 6 months internships, or at least back in the days, 10 years ago, that's how it worked. Hopefully what I'm saying is still accurate, but in order, like 6 months internships are really more common in, I would say, French companies.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe French companies here would have a 6 months internship mindset, but I think it's always the case where it's more part of the modus operandi to have 6 months internships in France than abroad, even in French companies, but even more so in international companies.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
To finish, I would like to share a question from Fatma, but unfortunately she had to go, but maybe it will be interesting for other students and maybe she will see it on the recording. So her question was a really specific question. It was about some advices and informations about the health industry. So I don't know if you have some information to give us.
Yes. I saw that question on the chat, so I got a bit ready, or at least with what I knew. So there are a couple of very big pharma companies that are that have strong presence in Dublin. Names to name a few: Pfizer, GSK, and Genzyme, right? But at the same time, you also have 6 out of the top 7 diagnostic companies, 15 out of the top 20 medical device companies that are present in Ireland. And I think one of the reasons that is the case is that to get approval to commercialize how do we say drugs, actually, medical drugs, drugs in Europe, they locate themselves here to work with the European authorities. At least for all the American companies, that's what happened, right? So that's the reason why a lot of the pharmas are here. They also have a lot of their central functions here, right, to cover Europe. So program management, finance, HR functions are big they're just big teams, sorry, in Dublin on that front, which ties well with what I said in the intro, that one of the main advantage, or one of the core advantage of Ireland, is that it is the last English-speaking country that is part of the EU, which attracts necessarily also skills investment, but companies see it as an obvious place to set up headquarters to cover Europe.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for your attention, and thank you to our speakers for sharing their experience and useful knowledge. I hope that the contents of this webinar has been valuable to you and answered your questions. You will find the slides of this webinar on the EMLYON alumni platform on the career tab in few days. I hope that you had a good time with us, and we hope to see you online very soon. Our next destination will be Switzerland in March 13th. You can already register on the EMLYON platform to this event and to the next ones. So again, thank you everyone, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye.